international people. This is Louise Uwachu, broadcasting live from Vancouver. This is October 11th, Thursday, October 11th, and we are 5 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you for being with us. Today is going to be a very interesting show. We're a little bit away from our usual politics. Not wrong with politics, but politics is just one aspect of life. So today we're going to talk about you and I have God genes. Did you know that you had God genes? Did you know that I had God genes? I knew, but I needed confirmation. Yes, from myself and someone who has investigated seriously about this idea of having God genes and what exactly is God and God genes. So today we'll bring him in and it's going to be really interesting. Let me not delay any further and bring him in.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening, Brother Babanu Harry.
Good evening, Louise. Thank you for bringing me on your show.
I'm so thankful that you have been able to be here because I read your book a while ago and I was so inspired.
Wow.
So I'm so happy that I'm finally getting to talk to you and then I'm talking to you and everybody's going to hear it. And
okay.
then, so I will not be the only crazy person from now on when I talk about this.
That makes two of us now, huh?
Yes. So
wow.
the book that I have in my hands is The God Genes Decoded, which came out in 2008. Now, please tell us a little bit about this book and about you and how it came to be.
Wow. In many ways, the book is a part of me, is a part of my life. It is definitely a passion of mine. The book came about because I got on this quest to understand life in realizing how many things were done specifically to Black African people in the past, probably maybe like 500 to 1,000 years, and how that had affected at least my perception of religion and science, the purpose in life, how that had affected my perception of morals, and how at the very least I wanted to get an understanding of what my ancestors might have had of, morals, religion, science, and, this is how the book, The God Genes, came about. It came about because after searching for a while, at least 12 years, I still wasn't satisfied, and I realized that I had better take responsibility in figuring it out myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had put so much into it in terms of getting it from other people and had gotten so little that I said, I just did the math and said, you know what, let me just take a crack at it for myself. So I started to do my research, and it was an interesting journey. It was a wonderful journey, and I realized that I was investigating a journey, as life itself is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And, in the investigation of life as a journey, just, starting to realize the undeniable and recurring factors, and, why people will want to search for the truth, why people will want to search for a creator, why people would want to know even the details of creation, how did it all begin, how did we get here, what is our purpose, where should we be going. I wanted all those questions answered, and that's how the book came about.
That's very, very admirable because most people, I don't know what it is, if it's a spiritual, intellectual laziness. We just grow up and we get one version of what it's supposed to be the truth. You go to church or you go to a mosque and you go into these religions. And then, some people just accept it as it is. So this
Yeah.
means that there must have been something in this religion that already exists that did not sound true to you or did not sound enough, and this is what pushed you to search for yourself. So what was that thing that you did not find?
From a very young age, at least I can recall that at age 7, I had serious questions with Christianity as it was being delivered to me, and as I saw it effects on other people. Meaning that from a very young age, it was always very introspective and contemplative, and I studied the people around me,
Mhm.
and I just found it very, very suspicious because I found people's behavior around it to be very suspicious.
Mhm.
I really didn't like the way that they came off with it and how it, in many ways, represented a contradiction for who they are.
Mhm.
So, I had, but, but still, the fact that it was such an obsession, I felt that people took it too seriously.
Mhm.
From age 7, I felt that people really took it too seriously, and I definitely wasn't really getting much out of it as a child, and even as an adult, or at least what I consider to be an adult age, teenage age. When I had an opportunity to visit a church for any reason, I just didn't get anything out of it then either. So, I pretty much had read enough of the Bible, had enough indoctrination because where I was born and raised it's pretty much a Christian country with a Christian educational infrastructure. So,
Mhm.
if you're going to school, you are getting Christian instruction in school. You don't just have to go to church.
Mhm.
So, and just just a whole lot of it wasn't enough for me as well, and I always had a love for science. Science was always one of my favorite subjects
Mhm.
in school. I always loved the outdoors. I like nature. I like to hunt. I like to go to the beach and fish and dive. And I like the natural environment. And Christianity, as it is, you know, as it is brought to people, it doesn't seem to have much to do with that. It's something else that's just so much divorced from something that to me is more overwhelming, which
Mhm.
is nature, which is the sun, or how it is giving us life, and how big it is, and what we are, how we are moving, in the universe, how we have different seasons, and these things for me, if God couldn't fit into that equation, then I couldn't lean on God as something being valid. So
Mhm.
that was me pretty much throughout my teenage years.
I
So
see.
yeah,
So you were born in the United States.
I was born and raised in the Caribbean, in Barbados.
You were born and raised in Barbados. Now,
Yes.
did you have to travel back to Africa? Have you traveled back to Africa in order to rediscover all this?
No, but I have traveled to Africa to make a connection with the tradition and the culture.
Mhm.
A lot of what I have learned is through personal interaction with my chefs and my guides. In terms of being pointed in certain directions, certain type of information to take a look at, and to really digest and ponder. And in terms of keeping an open mind,
I see.
yeah.
Now, tell me how you and I have God genes.
So the book, the God genes, and
Mhm.
how we have God genes is derived from the methodology used in creating the universe and the steps leading up to life and biological life as we know it.
Mhm.
And what genetics represent in terms of the wisdom of survival, our perception of, love and feelings, our perception of morals, a lot of it is encoded into us genetically, and this is by design of the creators of the universe.
Mhm.
So in many regards, we are programmed genetically to want for certain things that are more so in harmony with love and unity, and those are things. That's how I see God genes being encoded into our genetics. It's the way that our biology, our biochemistry is wired around love.
I
And the
see.
things, yeah, the things that we fall in love with, and how I saw this being a major part of these ancient indigenous cultures.
Mhm. Now, what did people believe back then, and what has destroyed that belief? How did they lose their God genes, and how do we go back to the God genes?
Well, definitely we are not we are not on the same cultural and moral trajectory as these ancient indigenous cultures that came before the contemporary dominant cultures. How was it lost is is such a hotly debated topic, is such a racially motivated topic, and it's such a lengthy and intricate one. But it at the basis it involves having to incorporate, in terms of the evolution of life, the a younger um, a younger distinct group of human beings uh, gaining the upper helm in the direction of life, and just in being young and being so hasty in building up civilizations using this blueprint, because it's a blueprint as well.
Mhm.
When you look at God genes, when you look at how our DNA is structured, when you look at the rhythm and the music that is in it, and now how that plays out and how you lay out a civilization, the position that you have for certain buildings and institutions relative to each other, these basic things uh, are what you find when you study these ancient indigenous cultures, but it's not what you find in the Western culture. Is more so what you find in African cultures. Um, how from a practical setting up a social harmony and an order that builds a moral character and infrastructure is it is done, through how the people interact with their parents, the types of rites and rituals that people go through in life, the type of training that people have for what I would call one of the most important institutions in life, which is the family.
Mhm.
Those things. I made a connection between studying how the universe is created, how we are genetically programmed, and then how you would set up a culture, or why you would make sure to include these cultures to keep that harmony and balance with the universe, because that's the material, that's the deities, that's the gods and the goddesses.
Mhm.
And Western cultures and civilizations, they don't follow that paradigm.
Mhm. What are they following? Is this why the world in such chaos? Is it gonna have to take what is it gonna take?
Wow. What is it going to take? Oh my goodness, it'll probably take a whole lot of climactic disasters. Um, wow, what is it going to take? I think it's going to take a lot of climactic disasters. Um, just, I mean, and I'm saying that because that's a very soft way of saying divine intervention.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really think that divine intervention is the solution because, certain nations, if you look at their arsenal of military and resources that they have at their command, and the direction that they are going in, you can expect what I will call a divine nation and an integrated and harmonious planet to come out of that.
Mhm. But if we have God genes, why can't we be the ones to solve this? Shouldn't it be in our power to solve this without divine intervention? Or
You
are we
know,
the divine intervention? I mean, how is that divine intervention going to happen?
well, I would definitely expect it to also be in collaboration with some of us down here. But yeah, we have we have programming
Mhm.
in our genetics around around morals and love and things like that. We also have free will.
Mhm.
Um, I had explained through genetic programming how having a sense of free will is designed into our genetic programming. Now, this gives us the opportunity to have more so of a conscious life. So, this planet it serves a purpose, and people are here to learn. People are here because they are pretty low on the evolutionary ladder.
Mhm.
So, something like divine intervention isn't far fetched because it's like the parents stepping in so the children don't destroy themselves.
Mhm. I
And
see.
yeah, those are concepts that seem so religious and that is, thrown at people so hard and, just so excessive from certain religious camps, they are not without their merit. It's just that if you want people to live a certain way of life, you have to design the society from the ground up to
Mhm.
facilitate that,
Mhm.
as opposed to just throwing threats of going to hell at people.
Yes, like all those things you're saying right now are the kind of things that should make people say that you're going to hell because you haven't told me about Jesus yet. Let's get to Jesus.
If we don't get to Jesus, we're going to hell. you know, um, Jesus is a concept and a metaphor that comes directly out of ancient Kemet, out of ancient Egypt.
Mhm.
And, it's a concept that relates to our solar system and the evolution of life through the zodiac of our solar system and how that affects uh, select human beings here on planet Earth,
Mhm.
leaders, you know, in terms of the virgin birth and these other things that add to it that people are like biologically stumped on, that is metaphor that relates to astrology and to specific signs on the zodiacal chart, and how they relate to Jesus. And if you look at the
But
word,
astrology is evil.
I mean,
Yeah, a lot. Some people don't even want to hear about astrology.
Yeah,
You
maybe that's
start
because
talking.
they don't read the Bible.
Mm.
Because in the Bible there's a passage that specifically relates to the constellation Orion as your Lord and Savior. So you know, it all depends on, and like I said, just the way that concoction called Christianity was put together and the way that it is wielded, like has people in a certain spell, and it's used as an antagonist in human civilization. Is not used to unify people. And it's not fulfilling its mission,
Mhm.
which is really for unification of people. I have another book to write on the universal origins of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism,
Mhm.
because they have origins that go back to the very formation of our universe.
Mhm. Now, what was there? What is the real ancient knowledge from which this other religion is derived from? What
Well,
what what are the fundamentals that people can know about?
Christianity, and why it's called Christianity has to do with crystallization and crystallization as it relates to immortality. Being able to live, you know, um, and being able to achieve immortal life, and how the crystal is seen as that metamorphosis that you go through to get, wings like a butterfly. Now, I'm just using the word Christ and the origin of
Mhm.
the word Christ and the concept of the crystallization as it relates to Osiris,
Mhm.
which is where Christianity draws its mythos from, which are
Mhm.
the tales of Osiris, Isis, and Heru, or Horus, or Osar, Oset, and Heru,
Mhm.
which is where you see with Heru, there's a reason why Heru was called Jesus, or Yusu, or Eshu. The word Jesus
Mhm.
comes from the word Eshu,
Mhm.
and the word Eshu, or Shu, is a word that speaks to even how it is related in the English language as the issue forth, that which issues forth or comes out of. So
Mhm.
in ancient Kemet, when you add the M to Eshu, you get Meshu, which is child of, offspring of.
Mhm.
So, Jesus, or Eshu, being the son of, or the offspring of the Lord, Osiris, Orion, you know, um, is the child that has to ascend the throne by going through earthly trials and
Mhm.
and being tested. So when in ancient Kemet, each king would be connected to not just to Heru. He would be connected to Heru. He would be seen as the incarnation of Heru,
Mhm.
but in many cases he would also be connected to a particular sign of the zodiac.
Mhm.
As Heru's life goes through the zodiac, as the 12 disciplines that he has to master are his 12 disciples.
Mhm. Now, does each leader have to be from one sign? Do the leaders change with the signs? Does the leader that follows the next leader? Does the next leader has to be the next sign, or?
Uh, no, how the kingship would go, because each sign on the zodiac lasts about 25,920. No, I'm sorry, 2,160 years.
Mhm.
So unless you are looking at periods in ancient Egypt that overlap from one sign to the next, where you see, kings are seen as bulls, and now they're seen, which will correspond to a Taurus, and then the following sign that comes next, you will see them correspond to the animal of that sign.
Mhm.
but only when it goes from one zodiacal period to a next on this big astrological clock that encompasses 25,920 years that's supposed to end 2012 of this year.
Mhm. Oh, that brings us to, all the predictions of catastrophe. 2012. What is going on? And to someone like you who knows, who has studied this, what is the significance of 2012?
The significance of it is that, we are on a trajectory through each sign of the zodiac. Every 72 years, we go back 1 degree through the zodiac. And at each juncture, between each sign, there's always a turbulence.
Mhm.
That turbulence is at its peak when we're moving from Pisces to Vesica Pisces, which is the last sign, into Aquarius, which is the first sign. So we are, but that also it signals the completion of what is called the Great Year, which is the precession of our sun, and we are circling our sun, so we are going through it with our sun, and Jesus is the sun, like Heru is the sun. So,
Mhm.
we are going through these trials and tribulations of evolution, change, and transformation with our sun.
Mhm.
And that completes an evolutionary cycle is completed in 25,920 years, but we also line up with the center of the universe, and that puts a lot of pressure on our planet.
I see. So, what's the best place to be for 2012? Egypt, ancient Kemet?
Probably underground. That's such a good question. Probably in the Sahara Desert where nothing can fall on you. I don't know, but right now I'm not getting that anything major is going to be happening above the major things that are already happening, which is the reshaping of global politics and distribution of wealth, the changing in the balance of power between nations. Those are some of the really major things that are happening right now.
I see. Now, you're in America and you're in the middle of some election theater. I call it
Yeah,
theater.
yeah,
What,
entertainment.
yes, what do you think when you see a person like Obama who has some African in him and talk about his religion or all this controversial about his religion? He's a Christian, he's a Muslim, so what? It's still not the ancient beliefs. What do you say to that?
Well, first, he is the president of the United States, and you have to be careful what you say in order to conduct business in that office. And so, with that said, out of any other president, for me, he really pushes the envelope on religion more
Mhm.
more than more than any other president. And he really shows his flexibility in terms of dealing with religion. So I really don't expect him to go any further than that if he wants to be able to stay in office. you know, he has done enough that I know. Well, he's not stupid. I'm sure that he has come across some very, very interesting literature and books in his lifetime, and he shows that in his autobiography with his experience with religion.
Mhm.
It's been very, very diverse. It stretches from Africa to India, to Islam to Christianity, and it's not in there as some great conflict in his mind. He's pretty much contented with the type of things that he has done and being a part of.
I see. Now, how can you actually pretend or say that you are a leader? Because, like we were just talking about, a leader, a true leader, was the image or the connection to Heru, which is
Right,
the direct connection to the universe, and that is the person that's supposed to be a leader. Now, in our world that we are today, where people are
right.
so eager to separate religion from the state, can religion really be separated from the state, and how about all these leaders that are not connected to the source, who are, despite that, our leaders anyways? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, you made a really great point, like about the connection between religion and the state. Can it, can religion really be separated, our church and state? And the truth is, no. You if you have to do a really really in depth study of the Western cultural paradigm, its language, how it uses words to define things and just to segregate things, in the minds of the people. But what we have here is, by and large, a system that really doesn't function according to not no, you know what? This system does not function according to divine law.
Mhm. It
This
doesn't function.
system, it does not. System is far unlike even what it is trying to emulate with the ancient Egyptian, you know, type of culture and civilization.
Yeah.
This system is it is too. I would if I had the mind of a child, I would expect the president to be X, Y, and Z, but I don't. So when you look at the people that attend the public office, and when you do your research and you see the type of people that are even given the advantage in getting into public office, is predicated around people who are morally weak.
Mhm.
This civilization, there are people that own it. This was an investment venture that was pulled off, and there are people who own it, and there are people who design it. They have architects.
Mhm.
I call them architects and oligarchs of civilization. So
So they're
this.
definitely not working for the divine purposes. But how come in America there's a lot of copies, a lot of falsification of ancient Africa, ancient Kemet symbolism, like in Washington D.C., the White House, the Senate, the streets, and the obelisk, and on the dome, and all those things, all these things, monuments. How about the ego and your money, the pyramids? What are all these symbolisms that they're using, but which has nothing to do with the ancient meaning?
Well, it's because the people who found this nation are Masons, Rosicrucians, Knights Templars, and they all intertwine and overlap as a secret society that traces its roots and origins all the way to North Africa.
Mhm.
And in terms of what ancient Egypt represented with the so-called mythos of Atlantis, they are trying to recreate Atlantis, this highly evolved human civilization, highly technological evolved human civilization. So, as a brotherhood, they see the use of the symbols as being part of what they use as we are as to say that they represent an unbroken mission. As it is an unbroken mission. Well, as it is a mission in them representing an unbroken mission, they use the symbols that go back to the most ancient um, remnants of advanced human civilization. And ancient Egypt is that in terms of ancient civilizations.
Mhm. But so how can we make a difference between the real and the fake?
Wow, how can we make a difference? That's what I am trying to do.
Mhm.
It starts with things like this, asking that question.
Mhm.
You know, it commences with being properly educated. You
Mhm.
know, finding that finding that in making a difference means fulfilling the goal for human civilization and the evolution
Mhm.
of life on human civilization, which commences with one human family, no racial divisions. This is all the different races are mixed all one,
Mhm.
and you know that pushing that message to alleviate those divisions of mankind.
So, what's the message? What's the main message that should be pushed in order to awaken an individual?
Love and unity,
Mhm.
and um, if 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 like myself, you come across something that's really really wise, if you can find a way of sharing it and getting
Mhm.
that message out to help
Mhm.
people to open their hearts and open their minds, you
Mhm.
know um looking at the way that a lot of religions act and function, and finding an alternative way to bring the message of unity to other people and to get them to open up their hearts to start to see that there are other ways that we have to start to look at these things, because it does require human change, and that each one teach one, each one reach one. It's not as far fetched as you think,
Mhm.
and I do believe in divine intervention.
Mhm.
I see that by getting on that mission, getting rid of your prejudices, keeping an open mind, getting rid of your judgments, starting to look at things with a more analytical perspective, starting to say to yourself, you know what, I can be wrong. I
Mhm.
might be wrong. What if I am wrong? So, this is how you start that process of relearning
Mhm.
and, being mature enough to say, as a human being on this planet with 7 billion people and the direction that is going, if something isn't wrong with us, then something is wrong with me for not at least taking a look at what I can do to change.
Mhm. Now, please explain the concept of Ra and Maat and the Ka, in order to explain why love is so important.
In ancient Egyptian cosmology, um, Ra is consciousness and experience, and Ra evolves or comes into being because of love, because of the experience of chaos being the antithesis of love. Um, Ra comes into being realizing that, love is the solution, and that's what Ma'at is. Ma'at is the laws and the math and the structure and the rationality around the concept of love. Love is a rational concept. It's not an irrational concept as we are taught. So it is now seen as a process in terms of evolution of consciousness. Ra as a process of coming to order, coming to rationality, coming to a sane perspective, etc. And it's love as Ma'at that facilitates this process. So in ancient Kemet, you would see that all the Neteru are depicted on the standard of Ma'at. And that's how important that principle of and concept is. And Ma'at is really where math comes from. So, we are talking about measurement. This is the concept of being rational as opposed to being irrational. There's a mathematical reason for doing this. It's just not based on how I feel. What you should do or shouldn't do is just not based on how you feel. It's based on a rational mathematical equation, and that's seen as wisdom. So that's where Ma'at fits in there in terms of Ra and Ma'at in the cosmology in terms of the creation of life.
Very interesting. Now, you said something that's so interesting, the concept of love. Like, what is love? We've seen so many movies. Hollywood has destroyed this love that you're talking about.
Yeah, Hollywood has hijacked.
It's like now I don't know what love is, because the love that you're talking about has absolutely nothing to do with men meet women and they kiss and they orgasm and then the movie ends.
Well, I know what you mean, but some of the concepts in there, like compliments, male, female, yin yang, positive, negative, that's pretty rational. So, because in terms as it relates to the division of the sexes and the wisdom in the division of the sexes for procreation, for creation, for cooperation, and for order, we see the wisdom of love in that then facilitates the wisdom of love and the feelings and the family and the male-female interaction, the positive generation of energies. But Hollywood has hijacked it and is placed within the framework of a culture of expectations that are not realistic. So, in the Western paradigm, we attach expectations to relationships which are integrated with our concept of love. We attach expectations that really don't work. They come with the assumed, fake lifestyle of the book, the fictional book that the person read or the movie that they watched. Which everybody doesn't have, so it's not rational at all.
It's crazy. It makes people go crazy. You hear people talk about, I'm crazy in love, but you're not supposed to be crazy and in love, because, as you say, love is supposed to be wisdom and rationality. So how can you be crazy in love?
Yeah, love is a tool that you use to build with. But, a lot of people who think that they're in love are in destructive relationships.
So now, what is real love, the one that you're talking about, and how do we get to that?
Real love is lawful, rational, it is mathematical, it is productive and harmonious. And we get to that through instruction and education. It is philosophical.
So if you're truly in love, you should be talking about philosophy, mathematical things, and then what? Because
it raises your IQ, it strengthens your brain and your crown chakras when you engage in philosophy and math and rational thought, and this makes it easier for you to manage your emotions, your lower instinctual passions.
I see. So if someone does not inspire you intellectually, philosophically, and spiritually, you're not supposed to be in love with them, or that's fake love, or?
Well, you are going to find issues in that relationship as immature behavior starts to take over the direction that it's going in.
Now, what
you know.
what let's talk about, so what does sex has to do with it? How does sex come into this? Because a lot of people also associate sex with love. They're like, "Oh, we're making love." What
Oh
is this
yeah.
making love?
The reason why people associate sex with love is the way that we were designed, and that is, when people engage in intercourse, they secrete a hormone called oxytocin, and that hormone is associated with the feeling of I am in love with this person. I'll do. So that's why we associate sex with love, and that hormone, we get a big boost and release of it, especially with orgasm.
Mhm.
And, that is because we are designed, you know, to at least have a, a feeling and an emotional counterpart to that love be, because, sex is something that should be engaged in within the confines of love and marriage and relationship and commitment.
Mhm.
That's
Um.
you should have that kind of feeling, which is much much stronger with intercourse and orgasm. You should have that kind of feeling with someone that you trust, someone that you work with, need, depend on, not just a stranger.
Mhm. Now, you speak about marriage. Is this marriage between men and women? And how do you see this new society, new idea of marriage between man and man or woman and woman?
Well, this idea of uh, man and man, woman and woman, that has so much to do with population control.
Mhm.
That has so much to do with what I would call crash landing civilization and its population numbers, and how that is used, in terms of the size of the human population, how that is used for certain people's agenda.
Mhm.
So, let's see, how does it go? The word heterosexual
Mhm.
is derived from the word hetero.
Mhm.
Heterosexual.
Mhm.
Heteru is a goddess of love and relationship and marriage in ancient Kemet.
Mhm.
Yes, so even the concept of heterosexuality is derived from the deities and is still in the words in the English language. So we pretty much know that the standard for relationship and intimacy with form function relationship is male and female.
Mhm.
You know, if a person has an agenda, they steer the argument and they censor it. But most people, rational people, know that the anus will never be a tool for intercourse. So
Mhm.
that pretty much kills that debate.
Now, what makes what makes this? I'm just gonna come out and say it. What makes the vagina a more appropriate intercourse location than the anus, like you just said?
One is not used for excretion.
It's not used. Okay.
Yeah, I mean the anus is designed for excretion, and it's
Mhm.
just it's a place where a lot of the diseases are gotten rid of, and through I think it was biogenetics, they trace the origins of gonorrhea and syphilis to the anus.
Mhm. All right. So then, how did people start using that as for sex? What does that come from?
That that comes from human immaturity around several things. It also comes from uh, what you could call hormonal imbalances. There are several contributing factors, all the way up to extreme masculinity leads to that as well. Narcissism definitely leads to that as well. So when you're young in the universe and you don't know how to manage the way that you feel, sometimes you fall into uh, program traps, traps of programming around identity and feelings and those type of things. You are still learning your way in life, so you can't properly manage and process the way that you feel about things.
Oh, so does this mean that if you are a highly spiritually evolved being, then there's no way you could be a homosexual? Or if you're a homosexual, then you're not spiritually highly evolved? Or what does that mean?
I'm going to put it this way. Mm-hmm. My guides, I work with a lot of different deities. It is absolutely no. No, that's not good. No, that's not right. No, that's wrong. That's not healthy. So I don't know what other people are talking about, but it's not a part of my moral standards. And, there are such things as moral standards. Once, dogma start to get into the debate, then there's moral standards. Mm-hmm. But then you have a better understanding of behavioral psychology, not from the Western perspective. You understand why certain behaviors, especially sexual, promote other negative behaviors, and you start to see the rules and protocols around sex from at least some of these ancient cultures, how it relates to moral aptitude. You start engaging in certain sexual practices, it morally degrades your mind.
Oh, so the kind of sex that you practice will determine your morality and the kind of morality that you have in society and how you behave in society.
Yes, it will.
Huh. So now what's the best?
We have to get into the Kama Sutra now, because some civilizations had entire manuals on what you should do during sex and the rules and all that stuff. So we are so far off the mark.
Oh, we're only left with 5 minutes in the show, but let's just take 1 minute. And, address this issue because, this is very intriguing for a lot of people. There's a lot of people who want to evolve and be highly spiritual and practice all those things and at the same time, stay, be sexually active and productive in the right way.
Yeah. When you start to look at some of these rules, then you see why marriage was regarded as such an important thing. But, there are things like don't. These are some of the don'ts. Masturbation, oral sex, anal sex. Those are big don'ts.
Wow. Masturbation, oral sex, anal sex. Okay. What about kissing?
Kissing gets a pass. Kissing gets a pass, but it's definitely not necessary to prove that you love someone. Mm-hmm. Not everyone should be required to be comfortable with exchanging saliva. I really think that people need to understand that not everyone wants to do that. Mm-hmm. So that if you don't want to do that, it doesn't cause a big issue in the relationship.
Wow, that's Very great. So let's finish up. We still have 4 minutes left. Let's finish with marriage so that my mom can be so happy. Convince me into marriage.
Wow.
Tell me what is so good about marriage.
Marriage is where you learn whether or not you can create your own universe.
Mhm.
That it is in the institution of marriage that you learn whether or not you have the skills to build great things. If you
Oh.
can't build, nothing great is built without relationships,
Mhm.
and the that is the quintessential relationship test.
So, if you can't build a proper marriage, then you can't build anything proper in the world, or how does that go?
Yeah, you can't build things that are great,
Mhm.
because whatever issues you had in that marriage, we are not insinuating that the marriage failed because of the other person. That could happen, but
Mhm.
we are talking about what issues you had that caused it to disintegrate, and
Mhm.
looking at how those issues are going to manifest in other areas of your life as the trigger for those issues come up,
Mhm.
and they will
Mhm.
call them challenges and obstacles to your evolutionary development crossroads.
Mhm. So when two people fail in a marriage, what does that mean? That both of them are not smart enough, or what's going on?
Smart enough is definitely a word that comes to mind. Both of them or one of them, for sure, yeah. I mean, in terms of also looking at other contributing factors to the failure,
Mhm.
because sometimes people fail because there are other people in the marriage
Mm.
that are not giving good guidance, and that are not pushing and promoting behavior that would keep it together for whatever childish reasons they may have.
Mhm. Now, is this supposed to be a monogamous marriage? Is marriage automatically monogamous, or this is just does the polygamy marriage work also in the same way?
I see it as levels of maturity. So monogamy would be for people who are not as mature, relative to polygamy would be for people who are more mature. So it's for people on different levels.
Wow, don't make all the guys go polygamous now, thinking that, oh, I'm mature, so I'm going polygamous. There's a lot of guys out there who are polygamous for the sake of, you know, being pimped.
For the sake of the advantage and the opportunity, is that what you want to
Yeah.
say? This is a whole other show. It's a great show, though. Polygamy makes a really, really, really great subject in terms of mathematics.
Uh-huh.
And but the way that I see it is that both genders benefit from that.
Mhm.
And I look at it from the context of a healthy society, as opposed to looking at it from the context of the Western experience with the relationships and morality and materialism. You know,
I see.
yeah,
But so
other
are you
cultures did it
saying,
better.
mhm, are you
Yeah.
saying a man can have many women married to all of them, or a woman can have many men married to all of them?
Wow. um, it's not that I'm saying that. It's more so my opinion
Mhm.
on you know what is what is good, what is necessary. So, I look at it from the perspective of mathematics.
Mhm.
And in most cases, at least the research that I've seen, you know, there are more male miscarriages of fetuses than female. So there's a tendency for there to be more women than men. And if you want to give these women an opportunity to have a family, then someone's going to have to share. Or they're just on the outskirts and fringes of society. And then they become devalued, and you start to see some countries, they just throw the extra women into dumps, like the Greeks and the Romans. You see countries that don't value women, they just kill the female babies and stuff like that.
So in a society where there are more women, then it makes sense for a man to have more than one wife. And so are you saying that in a society where there would be more men, it will make sense for me to have 5 husbands?
It will make sense to make it work, to bring about a balance in the civilization. Else you're going to have a lot of problems.
I see. Because all the men need a woman and all the women need a man, or?
Yes, because that's how we are designed. Like in China, where they kill a lot of female children, men are kidnapping women to have wives. That's immature.
Because there's not enough women. Since they've been killing women babies, now they don't have enough women to marry. So are the men going to have to accept to share their women?
I don't know if the men will, because of the way the men are. So I tend to lean on let natural law take its course. Don't try to be killing extra babies, and you'll have more women than men.
I see.
And that's much easier to manage than having more men than women.
I see. Now, how many women do you have? Because in America, all the brothers are in jail. You're like a real brother who's outside and spiritual. So, how many women?
Oh, my goodness. Wow, I'm currently single.
Isn't that a sin? I mean, according to everything that you've told me, being single should be a sin.
It is a sin. I'll be the first to say it. I'm trying to end this condition as soon as possible.
Wow. I see. And how many women are you willing to take care of? That's the thing.
Wow, that's a very good question. I guess within the realms of destiny and decency and rationality, how that equation falls. I believe in limitations. So how many I should and can. Not just how many I would want to, not what I feel like doing, but what is best for the overall good.
And that is the difference between a smart man and men who are just messing around. It's not just about what you want. It's about...
No. And you also have to think about yourself and your limitations. You need time for yourself as well. Sometimes you just need time to figure out who you are, because so many other voices are in your head.
So with the limitations of life, you really it's impossible to actually have more than one woman, the way I see it.
Yeah, I don't see it as impossible, because I look at civilizations and cultures that have done it, and what type of civilization and culture existed where it was done. I don't see it as impossible. I definitely do see it as difficult. definitely do see it as difficult unless the participants are of a particular type of persuasion.
I see. Wow, this has been so great. Definitely have God's genes. You need to be transmitting those God's genes, or you not?
That's what the book is for.
All right, so I have volume 1 here, and before we go, let's tell the listeners that you also have volume 2 out. Where can people find your books?
Amazon.com.
Mm-hmm.
Title search: The God Genes Decoded.
Mm-hmm. Amazon.com, The God Genes Decoded. There's volume 1 and volume 2. What does volume 2 talk about? Is it a continuation of the first one?
In the sense that in Kemet there were three major cosmologies. Volume 2 gets into the philosophy and rationality of love, and that's from the cosmology at Kemenu, where Tehuti and Ma'at are the creators, are the creator deities, and so it shows their creative wisdom, how they're added to creation, how their wisdom of love is integral for universal harmony and achieving success.
I see. Does this mean that you'll have a third one, a volume 3 coming out?
Well, I've already published volume 3, so you'll also see that on Amazon.com as well.
Wow, you're so advanced. No wonder you're single. Where would you find time for women and books?
And for someone that we could vibe.
Yeah.
we have to vibe. So,
you have to vibe with the other person?
Yeah, you have to vibe, you have to harmonize, and your perspective on life plays a major role in how you vibe and harmonize with people, especially on an intimate level.
Mhm.
How you connect, how you relate.
Uh-huh.
So
wow.
I'm being isolated
by the books.
By the research, yeah.
Yeah. But so you need to go out when you're touring and signing books.
Thank you for your advice. This is the best show I've ever been on.
Thank you.
It shows that you really care. Thank you so much.
It's the U&I talk, where it's the concept is you and I talk honestly, like two people would talk, and
right.
So we get to know more about life when we're relaxed like this.
Yeah, so, if there are any really, really nerdy, beautiful women out there in North American land, preferably New York City, I can be contacted at info@godgenesdecoded.com. It'd be great if you check the book out first.
Yes.
That'll make it much, much easier.
Yes.
Info, that's INFO, at godgenesdecoded.com. GODGENESDECODED. And I always wanted to do that.
Yes. Oh, wow. Okay, all the women of America and Canada, are you listening? Contact Brother Harry in New York. He is so conscious and so much fun. And people can also go on your website. You also have a radio show, and it's the OurTruth.com. Our Truth. Our HOUR Truth.com.
.com.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I am going to get the rest of the volumes and see what's been keeping you busy. And when I come to New York, you'll definitely hear from me.
Sounds like a plan.
Yes.
Definitely. Thank you very much for bringing me on your show. I hope that people check the work out. It is awesomely inspiring.
All right. So, what do we wish each other as good night in the language or in the divine language, in the God language? What do we say?
We can say Hetep.
Ah. Hotep, brother.
Hotep. Sister.
All right.
Peace and love.
Bye. Bye. Wow, my international people. Did you hear that? Oh, so beautiful. It's so inspiring to speak to conscious brothers and then interview people about their groundbreaking, work and just find out so much more. So I encourage you to check out Brother Harry and his books, The God Genes Decoded, Volume 1, 2, 3, all available on Amazon. I can tell you that I do have The God Genes Decoded, Volume 1 in my hands. I've had it since 2009. I've read it many times over, and it's great. It's so inspiring. And if you're African and you speak an African language, it's actually going to be so much easier for you to understand because these words that he uses and the terminology, if you speak any Bantu language, you will find those words in your own language. Thank you, my international people, for being with us. It's been so great. This is Louise Wacho from Vancouver. Hotep, Amahoro, Imana, Moramuchi.